What is up, everyone? Thank you for tuning in to our podcast, the Wazzu Experience, episode 1, hosted by the Entrepreneurship Club, and I am your host, Alec. And these are my fellow hosts here. We got.
I'm Emiliano.
I'm Jake.
Hi, I'm Marvin.
Oh my God, Marvin! Every time.
Classic.
I love it. We all love it. But no, this podcast is a little bit different than our last one, the Coodcast. That is more focused towards WSU news, economics, and intellectual debates. And then the Wazzu Experience can be a little bit different. We're gonna be doing interviews. We're gonna be talking about the college life, our experiences with college, how it's affected us. Gossip and any random barstool stuff that's been going on recently. Just think of it, left Twix, right Twix. Please, shameless plug, sponsor us, please. Thank you. Bye. But anyhow, we're gonna start off here with our stories. We're just gonna be going around the house and just giving our full-fledged experience with the beginning of college and COVID and how it's affected us. And I'll just go ahead and start off here, and then we'll follow it up. So basically, back freshman year, when I was first thinking about college, I didn't really know where I was going with anything. In high school, it was a good time. I had a good time. But yada yada. College was different, and I was like, man, school sucks. I don't really want to be doing any work. It's gonna be all schoolwork. It's not gonna be any fun. But heck, was I wrong on that? Like by a big shot. So, I came to WSU, moved into my dorm, met a bunch of people. It was such a good time. Completely different experience. Got out of my comfort zone, and it was just a really, really good time. I joined a fraternity. That was a whole experience, going to my first frat party and experiencing that and just getting messed up and just having a good time with the boys. It was really, really fun. But then, drum roll. Dun-dun-dun-dun.
Dun, dun,
COVID.
dun.
Thank you. Freaking COVID hit. And I swear it was something out of like a zombie apocalypse movie, or like stuff was going down, everything was shutting down. And I remember first hearing about COVID, back in China, where it was first starting, where I was first hearing rumors about it, like, coronavirus, oh no, like, and we were all like, no way this is gonna happen. Like, this is completely an utter bull. We're completely fine. We're just gonna keep, vibing with college. And then a case was acquired in Seattle. And then everyone was like, oh crap. And then there was the first case on campus, and everyone was like, oh, this is actually, we're going ahead with this. This is actually real. And if you would cough, like, everyone would look at you, and but it was completely different, and it was really, really sad because everything got shut down. Everyone had to go home. I remember having to move out of my dorm, and it was just completely ruined. It was the midway through spring semester, finished fall semester. We weren't even done with spring semester. It was just getting to the good part with the sports seasons and everything. But it was just a total and utter bummer. And then like having to go online with schooling, it just completely and utterly sucked. And right when things were beginning to get good, not just like school wise, but also like socially and like personally, things were really getting good for me. And it just kind of just killed the whole damn mood with everything. And it was bad. And I'm really looking forward to going back to in person this fall. That's what the rumor is. But yeah, that's basically my story, and it affected me a whole lot. But I'll touch on that a little bit later. But go ahead. I'm gonna leave it to Emiliano here to tell his story.
Yeah, so my story, I think I feel like it's going to relate with a lot of freshmen that started WSU in 2020. So my first semester was spring 2020. I was living in a dorm, Rogers, and everything was pretty nice. I was kind of getting used to the new college life because I've never been like out of college for an extended amount of time. So having to live there away from my family and my friends back in California was completely different. But I was getting used to it, and 3 months in, I felt like I was pretty pretty set. I found a job at Birch and Barley. Shout out Birch and Barley. And it was pretty stable, so it was pretty cool. But then yeah, like you said, Alex, you heard like the first cases of corona coming in, and I remember like there was like this wave of supposedly the flu that went around campus, and um I didn't really think much of it, but then you started seeing like all these articles and like news stories pretty much like mid March, I think. And that's when everything just started going down and everybody started running away from campus as fast as they could. And it was the week of spring break that I ended up having to leave campus, unfortunately. So I had to leave the dorm, fly back all the way to California, all within a week, which was pretty sudden. I feel like a lot of people can also relate to that, being jolted back home. Um, and then once I was back home, it felt weird transitioning online because I was expecting college to be all in person. Um, so it was kind of weird for that transition. But like mentally, I felt like it was okay because I feel like most people were like they weren't dreading it too much about being online because they just thought it was gonna be that one semester. They were kind of excited, but I feel like as the weeks went on, it kind of started affecting people more, especially me. Like I would say, I started feeling like I was losing motivation, especially towards the end of semesters. I was kind of a little bit confused on how some things were supposed to gonna work out, like especially coming back in person. And now, almost a year later, basically over a year later, I feel like a lot of people still aren't used to that in-person college feeling, especially for freshmen like me that were starting off last year. But yeah, I mean, it's been a roller coaster all throughout, because it just taught you like you can't really take anything for granted. And even if you have like future plans that you've been planning out for months, like I was, you have to be ready to kind of like adapt and be able to change to things like that. That's my story.
Yeah, I definitely relate to a lot of that. Man, that was, I mean, just the whole going online and everything is just, it's been tough. It's affected me mentally and um, physically. It's just affected me in every way. It's been a really hard time with everything. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and move on to Jake here to tell his origin story here.
Yes. Well, firstly, I would just like to say that's got to be crazy, Emiliano, for you to come to WSU like that spring was your first semester, and like you probably had what 2.5 months, like that's it. You had part of June and part of January and February, and then it happened in the middle of March. So that's got to be even crazier to like just get to college and then immediately after have to go back. Uh, but I want before we go to my COVID origin story, I just want to pass the torch to Marvin because I know we've heard a little bit about it off air, off the podcast, but I know that Marvin's story is just legit. So let's pass the torch, let him take it.
It's a banger.
All right, guys, let's buckle our seatbelt and ready. Are you guys ready?
Yeah, I'm ready, bro.
This is
Let's
gonna
go.
be so fun. All right, my COVID story. Oof. So I know, like this last spring, we had like 1 week break where this semester we don't have any, which is I don't know, this is a dumb idea, but anyway, that week I took a week off. I booked the hotel, everything for a ski trip with my girlfriend. But halfway through, they were like, "Hey, today's the last day. That's it." And then the season pass just I mean, I ski quite a lot, like every day during that spring break, but it's just broken halfway through. Like we can't ski anymore. That's fine. In April, my parents was like, "Hey, this thing is real. I want you to come back right now." I literally had like I think 3 days to pack all my clothes, all my furniture, everything, booked the flight, took the first flight back home because flight usually before COVID is every day, but during COVID it's like twice a week, and then you cut down to once a week to one time in 2 weeks, which is crazy. So I had to rush everything. Oh, I'm from Malaysia, so it's like 24 hours away by flight, including transit timing and stuff like that. So the shortest time was 24 hours, but I didn't take that route. Instead, I took a route like 30 hours through Japan. But I had 3 days to pack. I had during that 3 days, I have to pack everything in my apartment. I have to do my everything. So I got to Spokane Airport. From Spokane Airport, I went to San Francisco. It was empty, totally empty. No one was there except for like some international students who was going back on the same flight with me. But that's it. Can you imagine San Francisco International Airport being empty? Totally cool. It's okay. In the airplane, literally, I think 10 people or maximum 20 people in the whole plane. It was like a private jet. I was like, wow, this is cool. The whole middle row, I just put up all the armrests and just sleep. Damn, this is like first class, but with hot seats. That's fine. When I go to Japan airport was so packed. It was so packed, like, I don't know why, but everybody transit in Japan. And then my flight from Japan back home to Malaysia, it was packed. So different than me from San Francisco to Japan. Totally fine. In Malaysia, when I touched down, I had to go through so many scans. I have to do this scan. I have to do that scan. I have to fill up this form, go to the next station to fill up that form saying I don't have COVID. I'm clear. I'm good. Check my temperature. At 11 o'clock and 11 o'clock at night was when we were, like touchdown and stuff like that. It took us 3 hours for the check from the plane all the way to outside the airport for us to go to our hotels. And then on the way to hotel, we had like 4 buses to this 5-star hotel, which was sponsored by the government, and we have free meals, which is pretty good, I would say. But like during that trip, for the 4 buses, we had police escort. We were like prisoners or celebrity. Choose one side you want to be. But for me, I would say we are the celebrity. We got police escort from front, left, right, back, and police to stop all the traffic in the middle of the night saying, hey, these are priorities. Stop and let them go. And we were like, wow, we were feeling special, And then I had to quarantine 2 weeks in this 5-star hotel, which is not too bad. But the hotel is pretty run down and not many people stay in this hotel. So I had to change room twice. First room there's no AC. Second room, I was attacked by a big cockroach. When I was eating my dinner, that night I called my mom like, hey mom, I need to switch the room. And then my mom called the hotel manager, and then I changed room that night to like a president suite. Like a president suite. And I had 2 bathrooms in the hotel room, 1 living room, and the living room had like a 70-inch TV. And then beside my bedroom, I have a study room. Wow, that was amazing. So I had like slightly more than 1 week in that big hotel room for free. And then my meals was like breakfast, lunch, dinner, 3 meals a day for free. I was like, this quarantine life ain't too bad. And I have my own bathtub. I take my own bath. I just sit there for 1 hour, 2 hours. I don't care. I have nothing to do anyway. And then, yada, yada, summer internship, stuff like that. But on the way back, coming back to the States in Pullman in August, kind of chill a little because in America, it's not too strict. So I just basically took my flight, came to Pullman, quarantined myself at home for 14 days. And that's about it. That's like 2 different sides of the world. But yeah, that's my story. Jake, you're up.
Wow, I just want to take a moment to just acknowledge how much of a roller coaster that was. Goodness, I know we heard parts of that before off the air, but that is just that's an experience that I guarantee you, like less than 10 students or 20 students, or I mean, there's a lot of international students at WSU, but I just feel like most students would never have any understanding of what you did and went through. and that's got to be crazy. And that's honestly, like, Marvin, before I go, was that something that was it an experience that was enjoyable overall, or would you have gone without it?
I wouldn't say it's enjoyable, but it's definitely once in a lifetime opportunity to have something like this. So I don't want it again, but I'm glad that I have this experience.
Sounds like it. You were like a celebrity, a COVID celebrity. That is crazy. And was COVID like, was it like, were there a lot of cases in Malaysia at first, or no?
No, the cases back home was like last year was pretty okay, you know, like 4 digits, 5 digits, but this year we're up to 6 digits, like 400,000 maybe. We only have like 32 million people, and we have like 500,000, so it's pretty bad.
Okay,
but
so
our recovery rate is pretty good.
is it safe to say that like they were taking, your arrival into the country very seriously?
I think they took it too seriously. I have to have so many checkpoints, check my temperature, do this, do that, fill up so many forms.
Yeah, that's crazy. So I don't have as exciting of a story. I think that's probably going to be the most exciting story. But my COVID origin story, as you could call it, it started out much similar to the rest of ours in Pullman, and I was also a resident in Rogers Hall, as Emiliano was. And let's see here, I just remember because it was right before spring break, and I was getting ready. Like, I had a flight home. I had a flight to SeaTac, right? So I was just, for some reason, right? I don't know. I was too bougie to drive, apparently, because I had a flight that was supposed to take me from Pullman to SeaTac for spring break, and I was supposed to come back on a flight right to after spring break. But after the COVID stuff started to hit, and it really started to pick up in those first couple of days, like right before we were done with that week before spring break. I decided to call it off. I was like, okay, I'm not going to go to the airport, and I wasn't worried about Pullman, but I was more worried about, in the whole freshness of the situation. I was worried about going to SeaTac, because the SeaTac airport, I was more worried about like getting COVID or anything else like that. I just didn't want to go to the airport, if that makes sense. So I decided to cancel the plane ticket. I don't even know what we did, if we got a refund. I have no clue, but I think we gave the seat to someone, actually, which is kind of cool. So someone else got to fly home, but I stayed for the night. And then I think I ended up packing my car a little bit and then driving home, which was lucky I had a car. Otherwise, that would have really sucked. So I drove home, and I just, did COVID like everyone else after spring break with the online learning environment, as that was terrible. And then I had to go back to like move out of my dorm, because like I don't know when all of you guys moved out of your areas. I know Marvin said he had to move out abruptly in like 2 days. And then I'm not sure what Alec or Emiliano did, but personally, I had to drive back in the middle of April. And so I had to drive back in the middle of April last year to move out of Rogers, my dorm that I had. And when I got there and I walked into the dorm, it was just like a ghost town. And I was like, wow, this is really creepy. Because I gotta tell you, if you've ever been like slept in a dorm where there's like no one there, like you're one of the only people in the entire building that's there, it is the creepiest thing. All right, I did not want to be there, but I had to sleep because I wasn't going to do the trip in one sitting, like one day. I didn't want to do that. So I spent the night, and then I fully moved out of my dorm by myself in this empty dorm. And it was a very interesting experience, because of just the campus was so dead. And I had to walk all the way to I think I had to walk all the way to the hillside area where they have the market for the hillside market. And I had to walk all the way over there just to go somewhere that was open. And it was just really crazy because of how dead the campus was. I'll probably never see a campus that dead, but it was crazy. And eventually I moved out of my dorm, and I got back all my stuff home. And that was a relief, because I didn't know how I was going to move out of my dorm. I feel like a lot of people were moving out at like random times, because some people moved out like right away. Other people, they came back and lived there for some time. Some people moved out, a week before I left, or before I moved out. It was just random. But eventually I moved out, and it was just a crazy experience overall. I was able to avoid like the airports, and I was able to avoid the big crowds, I guess you could say. But I just feel like it was an experience that was very abrupt. And although I didn't have as hectic of an experience like Marvin, or even Emiliano, right? You guys had to fly on planes. I feel like that would have been pretty weird, honestly, during the whole midst of it. Um, that's my COVID origin story. It's not as exciting as Marvin's, um, but let's see.
Yeah, I don't think anyone has a COVID story as cool as Marvin's.
Well, the second you have to be international and you during COVID, that's it. That's the top story. Like you can't get much better than that. That's
True.
crazy.
True. Especially like going back like into like Japan and like that area where like it like originated. It's pretty
It didn't originate in
it,
Japan.
well, I mean in China, but like you know what I'm saying on that part. But like it'd be pretty crazy going back and
No, to that part of the world, yeah.
yeah, being packed and everything. That's
I want to add on to my international flight. Like I think a day before my flight, I received like news that they said, no, it wasn't a day before. It was during when I was in San Francisco. A couple of like Chinese people, like students, they were like, they couldn't fly. No, in SeaTac, they couldn't transit in San Francisco because Japan apparently blocked people from transiting into the airport and stuff like that. And I freaked out. I really freaked out. I was like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? And then I asked those people who worked there, and then they were trying to figure it out, like if I can go or if I'm stuck in the US and stuff like that. And then it took them a while to figure out. And once they figured out, I had to rush. I ran so fast to my airplane because I'm almost late. It was wild. It was wild. That I think that's my craziest trip ever.
yeah. I've been like during COVID and stuff. I think there was like somebody told me like something similar to this to what you were going through, Marvin. That they were I think studying abroad or whatever, and COVID occurred, and like they had to like stay over in Europe because they were blocking all like forms of travel. And so they were literally stuck in Europe for like a couple months, and then they were able to fly back. But yeah, that would suck if like you couldn't go back home. Oh man, yeah, that's an insane story.
I know. Imagine I paid like $1,200 for one trip, and then I couldn't get back home, and then I'm stuck in SeaTac. Ooh, that's a bad idea.
That's an oof.
Yeah, and I also had a friend, Alec, who was studying abroad in Italy.
Mhm.
And if you guys remember, Italy was like the one of the first countries where it spread to and was really bad. Like it was spreading a lot, and that's I had a friend who was actually studying abroad in Italy, and he was stuck there. And I remember Snapchatting him, like messaging him on Snapchat, and I was just talking to him. I'm like, "Yo, are you good?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm good." And I feel like part of him, he wanted to get home, and I can understand that. But I got to be honest, if you were stuck in anywhere in the world for a pandemic and a lockdown, Italy's not the worst place. I mean, it's beautiful there. And you're of legal drinking age. You can sip some wine and enjoy the summer. So I don't know if it was like the worst place to be during a pandemic. I would have certainly enjoyed it. And actually, I forgot to mention, part of my experience with COVID hitting was also study abroad for me getting canceled. I was supposed to study abroad during spring break. That was canceled. I was supposed to study abroad for the summer for a trip to Ireland, and that was canceled, and that was really disappointing. So I didn't get to go abroad, but I would have been happy personally to be stuck abroad for a few months or a week or two.
Since you mentioned studying abroad, that really sucks, Jake. That all those things were canceled, and that made me remember one of the few friends that I made during my first semester. He was like an international student. He was studying abroad here. His name was Philip, and he was from Greece, and he was studying in London at the time. So, the spring he came here was his first study abroad semester in America. So I can't even imagine how it felt to be waiting to come over here and then just all of a sudden getting hit with this pandemic. And I think he was pretty much stuck here throughout the whole time. And he ended up like traveling the whole West Coast before going back home in the summer. It's crazy.
Yeah, that'd be one way to do it. Although the way that most countries were handling it is like, especially Italy, like what you're saying, Jake, like like when during like the height of the pandemic, they were like totally like locked down, couldn't go out of your homes, only for food. Like at times it did get pretty crazy. And like overall, I have to say this pandemic has had a toll on all of us. And I kind of want to go into a little bit here, but like leading it off to our final segment, I don't want to keep the podcast going too long. Don't want to bore your ears off, but I kind of just want to go into like mental health wise. How has COVID like affected every one of you, like health wise, so like socially, physically, mentally. It definitely has affected me like a ton of ways, and I honestly, it's gonna be hard to recover. I mean, I'm definitely excited to go back in person for everything, but overall, like this pandemic has sucked.
I'll go first. Yeah, I definitely feel like it's definitely changed my mental health a lot. I feel like I'm definitely slightly more lazier than I was, or I guess like less motivated than I was last year. But I mean, I'm still going at it. And I used to work at restaurants a lot, so that would require like a lot of social skills. So I definitely feel like that's been falling off gradually the more time that we've been spending in online classes.
Yeah, I think I'm somewhat similar. Like in person, we can just, say, hey, like someone on the left say, hey, my name is yada yada. I'm from da da da. How about you? You can meet new friends, but online, so I gotta admit, sometimes when I'm in class, um, I fall asleep and just put my phone there, and then I just fall asleep, and then I might be sometimes like the last one to leave the meeting room because I'm still asleep. But I think everyone's been there, and I think everyone's done that before, at least once or twice. What about you, Jake?
So yeah, definitely the mental side of, the effects of having to, deal with COVID and the online learning environment. I would say for me, like at first, it wasn't that bad. I think we can all agree. It kind of felt like a vacation, you know.
True.
At first it was kind of like a super easy, right? Everything got easy. Everything was on, the tests were open. No, it was super easy at first. I feel like for most of us, and it was enjoyable. It was a extended spring break, as one would say. But it was fine. I would say for the second half of that semester, I was chilling. My brain was okay. I binged watched Netflix. I saw The Office for the first time, and I was enjoying myself. Honestly, even though I was isolated and quite like alone, I was enjoying myself. And then I think as the summer kind of entered, that's where it kind of started to hit as like depressing. I say depressing in the lightest way. I don't mean it in as real as it can be, because it's a real problem. But it was very just kind of like sad, and it did take a big hit on my mental health through the later half of the summer, I would say. And I took some summer classes since my study abroad was canceled, so I just had to take the classes online, which was interesting because it's actually a lot harder to the WSU. I have to say the WSU online like global campus classes are actually hard. Like they're actually like normal classes but online. So they're like proctored and all sorts of stuff. So they're a lot harder than the general online learning environment that we've had otherwise. So that sucked. But I was a little distracted with that. But besides that, like it was quite my mental health took a toll for sure. I started to really just like it started to actually hurt me in a lot of ways. And I personally had like some like health issues kind of going like before COVID. I had like kind of like I would say I was getting sick a lot. Like at COVID, I was getting sick like very often, and for some reason, like I just kept getting sick, and I have no idea why. And I just like I was not worried about COVID at all, but like I did end up getting sick in the summer, and when I did get sick, I couldn't confirm that it was COVID, and I don't think it was, but I definitely got sick, and it actually kind of lasted like a really long time. Like I was not feeling well for like multiple weeks, even months, and it was a detriment to my health, and it was a detriment to like my social life, and a detriment to even like even it even made it harder to focus for online school. So like I feel like just overall, I don't know what it was really, because there's so many factors that play into the COVID kind of lockdowns that we've had, but it definitely like mentally like it diminished me like a lot. Like I feel like it would take another like year for me to get back to where I was in the mental headspace. Like it definitely hurt like a lot of in a lot of different ways. And it's improved, I would say, as we got used to it a little bit more and a little bit more. But it has been the mental side of it cannot be understated. I say it's like it's a major factor, and I can only imagine it's hurting other people as much as it has hurt me, or even worse.
No, yeah, kind of going off of what you're going on, Jake. Excuse me. Yeah, I can definitely agree. Like during the beginning, I think everyone was like kind of like relieved, like going online, everything being easier and not proctored and stuff, and everyone was like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna like go back home and chill out for a little bit, and it's not gonna be bad, like." And but then it kind of dragged on, and then everyone kind of just like felt the impact of COVID and what it was having on everyone. It's such a big toll. Like even me personally, like mentally, like I've struggled. I have struggled. Let me tell you, holy moly! like I'm not getting the like as good as grades as I could be, but that's just because I'm lazy, and definitely being online and like as Marvin was saying, falling asleep in class on the Zoom calls. I've definitely done that a ton of times, and it was just so much harder to like focus online because like you have like your TV or Netflix or like whatever, and you can just be doing that while you're listening, put the class on the side. But I mean that's how I was. I mean, I'm not saying that's how everyone was, but it definitely was harder to focus. It was definitely harder to stay motivated because I mean, if you were in person, you have to like go to the lecture, and if you're not there at the lecture, you can miss out on content, and you're taking notes and you're actually paying attention, and then going to take tests in person, like it's proctored. So it's just a whole like different vibe, and mentally it's been tough, especially with motivation and you know just staying happy, staying in your house like all day and not going out and seeing other people. It's just been a bummer, and especially going through like the first like freshman year to spring, being in person and knowing the experiences that you experienced during those times, or even for higher classmen, juniors and sophomores, like me and I think Jake and Emiliano, like we're sophomores, and we've had this whole year basically online, and we've missed out on a whole year of like college experience, parties, social life, all that good stuff that college is all about, and we've missed it due to COVID. And so definitely thinking about that, like I don't want to think about it, but it comes to me from time to time. But missing out on that vital year, especially when like upperclassmen and stuff say that sophomore year is probably like one of the best times of like college. It sucks. It sucks like totally. Like you're not gonna get those years back. Like that. I mean, that's what my dad has been saying too. Like you're literally not gonna get those years back, and I feel so sorry for you guys in the way that things are turning out for you. Like, and that's definitely had a mental impact on me for sure. Like knowing that I'm not gonna, be able to get that time, that valuable time enjoying stuff. Like it sucks. It's definitely impacted mentally.
Yeah, like I feel like especially like beginning college, like those first few months and like the first year, it kind of like is really important for a lot of people, and it's just really unfortunate that a lot of us won't be able to experience the way it has been in all the years past. um, but Jake, you mentioned some L's that we taken during COVID. I think mine, which is my biggest L, would probably just be getting furloughed immediately from getting hired at my new job that I was like so hyped to work for. Because I got hired like in February after a whole month of like begging to get hired at Birch and Barley. And once I finally got in, I got 2 paychecks, boom, furloughed. So I was like, what the heck is going on? It didn't even feel real at first, but it was like so sudden. It didn't even feel like I worked there to begin with. But it was just like kind of like that shock of like, oh damn, like I've never been fired from a job, but being furloughed, I don't know how to take it. So that was my biggest L.
That's crazy. For me, let's see. My biggest L was probably just getting denied and rejected from the study abroad like programs. Like I was supposed to go to Ireland and they totally shot that plane down. Literally, I mean, it's not. We didn't even go. And then I tried to study abroad again, and WCU like totally shot me down actually completely. Like I couldn't even. They're not even allowing any students to do it. So that really was another L that I had to take. And then also like part of like my physical health and mental health, it's been super draining. I feel like, and like I was on a good track. Like I started working out more and trying to be like more consistent at first. Like when I was during the beginning of like the end of last year and during like the beginning of summer, I was really like trying to pick it up and like build consistency. Then I honestly like when I kind of got sick and I just wasn't feeling well, it totally killed my momentum and all the momentum that I had, which I completely manufactured because there was nothing actually giving me momentum. It all died. And so once I was sick and I wasn't feeling well for like a few weeks or even a month, I didn't have any like motivation or energy to like pick it up, and I couldn't work out. And I've even gone months, like months and months and months without working out, which is not usual for me. Usually I like to work out pretty consistently. And I will say for my track record of like, if I were to look back in the past 10 years, I've been so active. You know, I've played many sports. I've been a very like active person. In the past year has been the most like sedentary lifestyle I've ever lived. It's probably unhealthy, and I know it's unhealthy, and it's very disappointing. That's probably my biggest L, is just like my health and my lifestyle.
Yeah, adding on, I think my biggest L is like combination of both of you guys, where I just feel lazy, unmotivated, like my learning curve is dropped. My my social skills. I think my social skill dropped the most. Like when I see people right now, I don't even know if I can, go up to them and be like an extrovert and say, "Hey, I'm who and this." I don't even know what's gonna be like when we go to in person and stuff like that. I guess it's gonna take some time for us to, get used to it, and I'm going back to in person and everything like that. But in my opinion, like my biggest L is time. I think I lost like a year. Although I lost a year, but I try my very best to make that year count. Like I do my part-time job. I have like 3 different jobs. I study and stuff like that, but still like experiencing the real world and the college life, I think that's my biggest L over there.
Yeah, definitely agree with every single one of your guys' like perspectives here. I definitely had similar experiences and have taken many L's during COVID, especially during the beginning of COVID, going through a breakup, which was, oh my gosh, I was just taking another toll on the mental health. Yeah, definitely a big L. But yeah, we all definitely lost.
It seems like everything fell apart at one moment.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, especially what you were going off of, Jake. Like having momentum and like building yourself up. Like that spring semester, I definitely was going through the same thing. I felt like things were finally like getting good and things were going the right way. And then like the famous saying, like just hit the fan. Like everything just.
Hey, you ever read the
well.
book Things Fall Apart?
Yeah. Yeah.
They forced us to read that book in high school, and it's just I feel like that's what happened. Things fell apart.
Yeah. Literally.
We could write another novel. Things Fall Apart 2020.
Dude, like the COVID version. Literally,
The COVID version.
Slap it on there and publish it. Like
the sequel.
Yeah, I definitely feel like everyone's gonna, going through it back to in person, everything's gonna be a whole different ball game. People are changed, and different things are gonna pop up, and it's gonna be weird. Like these next few years, recovering from COVID and everything, they're gonna be definitely different. And like society definitely is not going to be the same as it used to be. Like that's just straight
Bro,
fact.
facts. And I'm just curious, have any of you been as like introspective as I've been over the past year? Or have you been so lazy that you haven't even gotten around to it?
I've definitely given some self-thought, and I'm like, dude, what am I doing with my life? Like, things are just not going.
You like rethink everything, right?
Yeah,
And you're like, you rethink like, why did I go to college? Why did I
Yeah.
pick this major?
Exactly. Like, definitely like rethinking just everything, and you're just like, bro, like I don't know what I'm doing with my life. Like, I'm done. Like, I'm done. Like, just quit. Like,
Tap out.
I'm done. Like, get rid of COVID. Like, let's get back to in person. Like, I'm so done with this crap. Oh, it's frustrating. But yeah, like, yeah, it's definitely frustrating.
No,
Yeah.
it's
Literally, I feel like it's been so crazy. I feel like I've never thought like about myself like in this introspective way ever, like in the past to this level because of COVID. It's crazy.
True. But we're running out of time here. Does anyone have any like last like thoughts, concerns, or any last like little sayings here to end off the podcast? Because I do know we have been going a little over than what we suspected.
I just want to say I think we're good for this podcast, and that wraps it up. But next week, or sorry, not next week. This is recorded in post like late from last week, so apologize for that. But this week of 4 is it 420? It's 420.
It's 420.
It is 420. I meant to say like the Monday. It's the April 19th is the week of the 19th, but it's also 420. So we recorded this on 420 a little late. But this Thursday, 422, April 22nd, 2021, we will be having a hopefully another Wazzu experience episode, and we're hoping to have on a student athlete talking about their experience. So special guest, hopefully we can see them in our next episode later this week. So make sure to check out that episode when it comes out. It's gonna be crazy.
Yep. Thank you everyone again for tuning in. I hope everyone is staying safe and being as mentally goated as you can be, and during all the hard times and stuff. But yes, thank you again for tuning in, and tune in this Thursday for our student athlete interview. But other than that, that's it. Thank you again, and have a good night.